Gas is going to cover Chapter 7, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in Photoshop. Let's go ahead and open up the data file 7-1.psd from your data files. Once you get that open, let's do a Command-Shift-S. We'll do File Save As. We'll save that back in our classwork folder. And we'll save this as Painted Farm. Save that, click OK. Focus today is going to be on brushes and smudge and burn tools and how we can use them and then how we can tweak those individual parts as well. Let's go ahead and display rulers, Command R. That just shows my ruler up at the top. And we're going to start with the Sharpen Tool. So over here on your Tools bar, you have a Sharpen Tool. It may currently look like the Blur Tool, which looks like a teardrop. If you click and hold on that, you find the Sharpen Tool. The Sharpen Tool looks like a triangle. Now that you're on the Sharpen Tool, come up top to the Options bar up the top, and you can actually change the pixel size of your individual object. Let's start with 30 pixels, and let's see what the Sharpen Tool can do for us. If you look over here on your picture, I'm going to start up here next to the clouds, and I'm just going to click and drag. I'm just going to brush on. I'm clicking and holding. I'm going to brush on the Sharpen. If I keep brushing it, it eventually just starts to tear through the pictures. So the Sharpen, just using it very faintly, can bring out detail in these clouds. Okay? But you have to be careful how much you actually use it. You can always come back and go to your brush tools and change your size, the hardness, and the actual brush type of it as well. Moving on, we're going to the Burn Tool. The Burn Tool on the right. The Burn Tool currently might look like the Dodge Tool, which looks like a pinhead. If you click and hold on that, you can get the Burn Tool. Burn Tool looks like a hand making the letter O. So with that Burn Tool selected, let's go up to our Options bar. On our Options bars, click the drop down arrow. Let's change our sizing to, let's go about 50 pixels. About 50 pixels, and then the brush head that we're going to use the third one over from the left, this soft round pressure size. Okay, with that one selected, let's see what that does. So on our image here, if I just kind of lightly brush in on the clouds, I get a little bit of detail that pops out. If I click and hold and stay in one area, it just becomes a black circle. So the Burn Tool in this particular image is bringing out some of the highlights in those actual clouds. Darkens them up a little bit, but provides a little bit of shadow in the background. It takes a while to get used to. It's only good for a couple places, but you have to kind of know how to use it and when to use it. Okay, that's our Burn Tool. All right, so we just looked at the Sharpening Tool and the Burn Tool. Okay, so let's look at an actual brush at this point in time. So first of all, let's get a color for our brush. I'm going to go to the eyedropper tool like we learned last chapter. Eyedropper tool, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to click anywhere in the grass, and I'm going to get this green color. And then I'm going to come over here to my paintbrush, which is 2 down. I want to make sure I'm just on the brush tool. Okay. While I'm on the brush tool, if I look up top, I can see my options bar once again. I can pick the size of the brush itself, which can also be done using when you're clicked in your document. Can also be done using your brackets. So I'm going to take the size down to about 35 or so. The type, I'm going to pick the second one over here from the top. And then there's a little button out to the right. It looks like a folder with some brushes coming out of it. If you click on that, that's going to give you your brushes palette. So the brushes palette, think of it as like the layer styles palette. You can add each one of these on, texture, scattering, and you can change the way the actual brush looks when you move it. There's another one called Brush Presets, and if you can't find Brush Presets, go ahead and come up here to Window, Brush Presets. Then here you can also change the size of the brush as well, and then you can see the different types of brushes that are installed in your computer. For example, there is a leaf down here towards the bottom and some grass. So for this particular one, we're going to go with this third one down called Soft Round Pressure, and I'm in the Brush Presets for that. And my brush color is going to be whatever my foreground color is. And I'm going to come here to the border, and I'm just going to draw a little line across. Now notice mine is very faded. The reason mine is very faded is because my opacity was left at 28. I'm going to bring that back up to 100%. Now when I draw it on, I get kind of this faded look around the particular. It looks like kind of like spray paint. If I go back to this second one from the top and I do that one going down, then it's more of a solid look. Get more of a solid look. Okay, so there's our brushes. Now we're going to come back to these types of brushes here in a second, but just know that the brush tool activates the brush palette and the brush presets, as well as the options bar up top. Okay. So as well as you have the burn tool and the smudge tool and the sharpen tool, we have another thing called a patch tool. The patch tool is located over on the left, and it is under the healing brush. So the healing brush is that
207.
207, nice. The healing brush is that little band-aid. If you click on that little band-aid and go down to patch tool, we're going to use the patch tool. Make sure you're on the scene layer, and what we're going to do on the scene layer, I'm on the patch tool, just a reminder. So the patch tool looks like that. So now I'm on the patch tool. Before I start that, I'm going to make sure source is selected up top of my options. I'm going to just draw, I'm going to click and hold, I'm going to just draw a line around the hay bale. And connect it back up and let go. What that does is it allows you to remove an object and drags whatever is from the left or the right in. So for example, if I click and hold here, as I move it, it's going to bring the trees and stuff from the right in its place. Basically, it's just wherever I shift this around, it's going to make it look like that. So if I keep it here, and then I do a Command D, then it looks like there's background. Now, mine is kind of faded in. That's because I didn't do a very good job of using my patch tool. I could go back and cut out a bigger circle, and then it would appear to fade into the background more. Okay. So let's go ahead and cover that up with something else. Look at your layers palette. Go ahead and turn on the tractor layer. With the tractor layer on, let's go to our remove tool. Let's go and move our tractor to where it covers up the hay bale. Like so. Tractor's there. We're good to go. So we just looked at the sharpen tool, the burn tool, the patch tool, and the brush. Okay, so now we're going to look a little bit more into brushes. So let's go back to the brush tool on the left, and be on the brush tool. Make sure your brush and brush presets are open, and let's go ahead and go into our brush presets panel. Oop. Our brush presets, and let's go down. Let's find something that's kind of feathered out. I'm gonna pick this one here. What is that? About the 10th one down. It's kind of a feathered option. Think of it as what your actual brush really looks like. I'm going to go into brush here, and if you go to brush tip shape, that's another way of seeing it as well. That was on the brush tab, tab up top, and then you can click on these individual brushes. So I'm going to select brush 25 here, and then you also have the options to change the way it looks. If you go here to your bristles, you can add more or less bristles. You can change the length of the bristles, the thickness of the bristles, the stiffness, the angle of which it applies itself, those types of things. So I'm going to kind of land on something, then I'm going to draw kind of a line down the side of my document. Then let's come over here and let's change our brush to something different. Like this is more like a real thin, pointy brush. I'm going to go to 32, brush 32. And with brush 32 on, I'm going to go ahead and brush a little brush down here at the bottom. That gives me a different look. I'm going to come back over it again and do it kind of twice. It's got this green border. Moving on the actual document itself. You can also change your mode on your brushes, which gives you a little bit different look. You kind of just have to play with those for a little bit to see what you're working with. I usually just keep mine on normal. You can change your mode. Sticking with the concept of changing this picture, let's look at the smudge tool. So So over here on the left, where we were earlier, you got your Sharpen. If you click the Sharpen tool, there's the blur and the smudge. Let's look at the smudge tool. So with the smudge tool selected, let's come up to the top and let's change what type of brush do we want to use with the smudge tool. Okay, the one I want to use this one. It's called 46. 46. Kind of looks like a splatter paint. Okay, we're going to click on that one. That's more, kind of looks like finger painting. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to leave our strength at 50%, and we're going to leave. Let's turn on finger painting right here, the little checkbox. Let's turn on finger painting, and let's add a little something to it. Let's come down here, kind of in the sky, and let's just kind of pull from the sides. Let me zoom in on that. If I pull from the sides, it smudges. It's like smearing the paint I just dropped in there. It creates a nice little effect, makes things kind of blend and fade. The more you go over it, the more it fades, the more it looks, the more color you draw. You can even do it to actual objects, like if I do it to the tractor itself, it starts to pull things in. So that's your smudge tool. You have to be careful when you actually use that particular smudge tool. Okay, now we have smudge tool knocked out. Let's look at the that spot healing. So if you go back to where it's now the patch tool, let's go to spot healing brush. Okay, on the spot healing brush, let's come down here to this little black dot in the bottom corner of our screen. Before I go, I'm going to make sure my brush is selected. So my spot healing brush drop down, I'm going to change my size to about 25 pixels. And what I want is content aware, so it's going to try to copy the background just like a clone stamp would. Now if I come here and I brush over it, oh, gotta make sure you're on the right layer. Let me get on the scene layer. There we go. Then you can just spot heal individual pieces. So what it does is it just takes whatever is in the paintbrush circle that you did, and it tries to blend it into the rest. So we know I now no longer have that particular black whole piece there. Okay. Let's look at real quick doing a airbrush effect. Let's go to the eyedropper tool, and on the eyedropper tool, let's select the blue sky in the background. With the blue sky in the background, let's go to the brush tool. On the brush tool, we're going to go to the brush options panel. So on the brushes palette, I click the options. Brush presets, the drop down. So brush presets, the drop down. We're going to change this to faux finish brushes. Go to the faux finish brushes and say, do you want to replace the current brushes with the brushes from faux finish? Click append. Once that is appended, your brush looks a little bit different. And we can still come in here and we can change the way it looks by the brush presets, but it gives us a little bit more of an airbrush effect. For example, I'm going to select, around here about, I'm going to do one of these kind of feather tip ones, one I did earlier. And we could still change our size. We could even change our opacity. Let's go ahead and drag the opacity down to about 50%, and let's click this button right here. This button next to flow is your airbrush button. So now when I brush things on in the scene, I'm brushing on that blue sky and some streaks. So you kind of have to figure out, what do you want to use this particular tool for? How can you use it? Where can you use it? There you have it. Okay, that's going to conclude Chap 7, 1, 2, 3, and 4.